short because we've had a lot of conversation so far. And most everybody has remembered Mike from being here a number of times and so on. He's not a stranger to us, and so he can introduce himself and read through his resume for us.
Yes, that's my cue, I guess. You know what, I'm going to take my coat off. It's a little warm here.
Yes, it is.
My name is Mike McCalister, and I'm a God-fearing, flag-waving, gun-owning, retired colonel that's running for the Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services here in the great state of Florida. And this is a big election year for us. You know, we're the largest swing state in America, 29 electoral votes. And though it's not a presidential year, the Democrats are eyeing us as well. We have all 27 congressional seats, one of our 2 Senate seats, and the entire governor cabinet. Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services is a governor cabinet position, and I think it's always good to take a look at that. You know, we listened to this rhetoric, and Jack was talking about a few things, and I think we're all just pretty wore out and tired with all this New World Order, leftist, liberal BS that's going on. And let me tell you what, everybody in this room, and I got a chance to walk around and listen to a few of you, and I saw some of the salutes during the Pledge of Allegiance. You have value, you're important, you're needed, you're worthy, you're tried, you're proven. Don't ever doubt it. Don't ever doubt it, my friends, because they want to beat us down and they want to take away our spirit. Now, I'm going to give you about a 3 or 4 minute overview on my candidacy, and then we're going to talk about other things that are important to our nation and our state and our communities, and that this job can have some impact on as well. But the Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services has 3 main roles. Yes, agriculture, a big piece of agriculture. Consumer Services, and I'll talk about that for a minute, and the Governor Cabinet. My background, what we feel is that we give you the best resume. That if this was not a political race, where everybody's trying to further their political ambitions and get the next higher job, but if this was the workplace that you grew up in and you hired in and you interviewed in, we believe we'd be your person. And I'll tell you why. When I went to college, I majored in, agriculture. Graduated with National Honor Society of Agriculture, the Ag Club, married a hog farmer. I can remember we used to go out, I'd pick her up on Saturdays and we'd come home and go down, and they were pretty big hog farmers. But I knew agriculture would always be a core industry for any nation's sovereignty and success and freedom and prosperity and safety. I saw a lot of military guys, okay? I'm a retired colonel. If I win this office, I will be the only senior military officer on the cabinet. And I'm the only military veteran in the race. And one of the jobs I had in the military, and I think some of you will appreciate this, I was an S4. Who's Army? Who's Army in here? Okay, I was an S4. Anybody in here working logistics? I was a battalion logistics officer. And in that job, I was responsible for the vehicle repairs, the mess halls, the food safety, the water purification, the weapons, the fuels, all that comes under Commissioner of Agriculture in Florida. Some of my friends tease me and they say the only reason I'm running for this is I want to have my name on all the gas pumps. But I've been there, done that. And I'm going to say this, my friends, there is sometimes a difference between sitting on a committee in Tallahassee in a part-time job and passing legislation and being out there and really doing what we're talking about. I have a Florida nursery license myself. I am a tree farmer. I grow palm trees. I'm fighting this Texas palm disease every day. It's a bacteria, very serious, similar to citrus greening. I can spray my trees for insects. I can spray them for fungus, but I can't spray them for bacteria. And we see the palm trees dying all over the place. Down here, you've seen what some of the impact has been of citrus greening. So one of my top priorities in this job would be to get additional funding from USDA to help IFAS accelerate the research. We've got to stop this. People come to Florida, they want to buy Florida oranges, they want to check in the hotel that has gorgeous palm trees. It's 2 core industries for us. We need a way to spray the trees. And I'm the guy out there mixing the chemicals. I understand, how to do that right. I understand what happens if I don't. My trees are on my tree farm where I live, and I have a well. So when I mix the chemicals, and this is one of the things I look at, this office does oversee pesticide use and best practices in agriculture. I make sure I use good water. I mix the chemicals carefully. I mix them in the right order. It does matter, and I use a high-quality surfactant. What that does is that keeps the chemicals in solution, and then when you spray, it disperses it. It's much more of a fine mist. You get a better coverage. You get much less runoff, and I drink less chemicals in my well water. that I'm bathing and drinking. So these are things that come under this job as best practices. And I feel like I give you the hands-on experience on that piece as well. I have a PhD in management. I taught the capstone courses in the MBA program for Nova University for years in strategic thinking, operations management, how to make a business plan. But I'm also a graduate of the Command and General Staff College, as well as the Air War College Defense Distance Learning Program. I did it through McDill. My last 5 years in the military, I was a colonel. I was in the Center for Operations Plans and Policy at U.S. Special Operations Command. I was lucky to be there. I worked for people much smarter than me, and I learned a great deal. And I would like to be able to bring all this experience, all this education, all this training to work for you. And in this office, in this race, I've taken no corporate contribution, so I owe no favors to any company out there. And sometimes I think that maybe is what we need. You know, what my vision for Florida would be is our top slogan is we want to protect Florida families' freedoms, food, water, and animals. And that's obviously your Second Amendment and your First Amendment and the 10th Amendment. And I think this group knows what the 10th Amendment is, but a lot of people don't. But we need to get some of this stuff back from Washington that they've taken away from our states and our people as far as our rights go. We need a robust economic growth and excellent job opportunities. We need to return home field advantage for Florida growers in agriculture, ranchers, cattlemen. We need safe schools and safe neighborhoods. We need great education, maybe have better tech programs and college programs in agriculture. Would be some ideas there. But other things too statewide. No sanctuary cities. We need to stop illegal immigration with E-Verify. I'm just like that. I am against illegal immigration. I know some people don't like that, and if you do like it, I'm not your guy. I'll just tell you right now. Okay, it's the burden that it puts on the hardworking American families that pay for the education, that pay for the health care when they go to the ERs, and I just can't support that. We need to clean up Florida's water. And I will make that a high priority. But the ag guy is not the primary water guy in Florida. And I'm listening to all this rhetoric going on and other people running. Florida legislature mandated DEP to be the lead agency for water, land, and air in Florida. And they're mandated to enforce the federal EPA laws. And we have the water management districts. But this office does have the Office of Water Policy Management, which oversees mostly agricultural practices with water. And I've looked through their strategic plan, and I got to give credit to the people in office now and before. They do have one. I'd like to continue to make it better. One of the things I taught in grad school was a thing called POOGI, Process of Ongoing Improvement. You always want to be getting better, so I'd like to apply some specific performance measures and objectives and time frames and keep getting Florida's water back where it needs to be. And we need in this state to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and of Florida. And that's a part of ensuring the freedoms of our people. So, I have a lot of other things I could talk about on this, but I'm not, because I think we have a lot of issues that we want to cover. I'm here today because, like you, I'm also concerned about America. Now, I have one son. I raised him. I was a single parent. He's unfortunately a lawyer. And, but he's an engineer too, and he does patent law. And, you know, he went to law, him and my money went to law school. He has a law degree and a law license. So I have a lawyer in the family, but that doesn't make me a lawyer, and it doesn't make me an expert in law. And let me say this about the candidates, and I am one, okay? Guys, these campaigns know what you want to hear. They have the public opinion polls. They know what their candidate's training and education experience is and isn't. And it's a job interview. And it's like when they come in here, they know what you want to hear. They practice these little verbiages to make it look like, you know, and it's kind of a magic show. I'm going to ask you to do this. Do it just like in the workplace. Do you agree with their values and do you like their passion? And then you look at the resume. Are they equipped for this job? You know, there is a reason you have curriculums of study in schools. I was thinking about it coming in here. I was a military officer. Actually, my main MOS was combat engineer. Guess what? They wouldn't let me fly helicopters. And I was an Army guy. Okay? They wouldn't let me shoot field artillery because I wasn't an artillery officer. So even though I was in the Army, you know, there is a reason we have education and training and experience in certain things. It's the reason we require licenses. Yes, I have to have a Florida agricultural license to go buy chemicals for my trees. I feel like if you will look at it, the education, the training, and the real world experience across the board, I don't care if it's fuels, weapons, I don't care if it's vehicle repair stations or if it's growing agricultural products and administering chemicals. I feel I give you the best resume. It's on the back of that job. And it's up to you after that. You know, we take a look at our country going forward. Now, I had one son, ended up raising by myself, and boy, what a job that was. I don't have to tell you, being a parent's the toughest job in the world. He married a lady a couple years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, that had been told she couldn't have kids. She adopted 5 orphan brothers and sisters. And then he married her, and now they've had 2. And I feel like they've been blessed. But I have 7 grandkids, and I worry about them. Now, I watched your video, and I have been to several of these Second Amendment rallies in Florida as a speaker, standing on the Capitol steps, standing down here in Fort Lauderdale. And I haven't seen any of the other ag candidates doing that. So I do understand what he's saying. I have had discussions with him on more than one occasion. He's out there working hard. I want my grandkids to grow up just like he said, and this is in my speech notes. I think he stole it from me. I'm going to have to talk to him about that. In the same America I did, I want them to study the Constitution, our founding fathers, and our proud, brave heritage that constantly the New World Order wants to just downgrade and deny and eliminate. You know, we take a look at the Constitution, and I'm glad we do have a president in office now that's putting judges on the bench that will stand up and enforce the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States was the greatest blueprint ever written. Its intent was to ensure the liberty of its citizens, we the people. And we must put people in office that take that serious, that understand what that's about. And this isn't just their next step in their political career. It shouldn't be one size fits all. You know, as Americans, we're proud of who we are. And it's been many generations, and I'm looking at a group here, and I can see it. Many generations of hard-working Americans that built and protected this great nation with their sweat and their blood and their tears. And I think we're pretty tired of everyone disrespecting us. We should be appreciated. And we'll never again tolerate a leader in the White House for 8 years that bows to Muslim kings and apologizes to the world for who we are. I want my grandkids and great-grandchildren, I hope to live long enough to see that, to know what a proud, brave heritage we have. And like civilizations throughout history, we've erected monuments and shrines to remind us and to represent our progress and our growth and our development. And I've gone to many of these rallies around the state, believe me speaking, where they're tearing down the statues and tearing down the memorials, and it's widespread. I get a little disappointed in this conservative state legislature why we can't get a state law protecting all the war memorials like they have in Alabama. How can that be hard? Okay, well, I can tell you why, but I won't say it tonight. Okay, I'm just going to say this. Just having an R behind your name sometimes doesn't make you the conservative you like to claim. Why can't we get that law in this state? You know, it's a New World Order movement. They know if they can take away our heritage and our culture and take away our borders, that they can take over our country. That's what it's all about. They want to be great Americans. They want to. That's why that we have this constant movement from the left. And we were talking about Gillum running in Tallahassee and being funded by George Soros. We know what that's about. And so it's up to groups just like this. And I'm so motivated when I come around and I see you. And many of you I've seen here before. But you know what? You're a group in this state that's growing. I mean, I look tonight. The seats are full. I appreciate you and I thank you for that. You know, we're not going to let the New World Order liberals take us over. We don't want a one-world government and a one-world currency and no borders. That is not going to work. We are not going to let that happen. You know, we celebrate America as Americans, and you hear all this stuff about how no one likes America anymore and no one likes Americans. Then why is the entire world trying to get here? You know, we're only 5% of the planet, and everybody wants to be here. Let me tell you what, being an American is special. You're unique. You're a rare breed. One of a kind, set apart from all the rest, my friends. It's in your genes, and it's in your blood, and it's in your heart. And it was you, and your parents, and your grandparents, and your great-grandparents that made this the greatest nation in the world. And as an American, you never need to go anywhere and hang your head. It's been this great nation, and its proud, brave people that have saved the entire free world as we know it today on more than one occasion and with our most precious blood. And I think about that. I'm from a Gold Star family. My dad was one of 3 brothers. They were all in World War II. One of his brothers was killed at Guadalcanal on the USS South Dakota. Last night I had a Gold Star mother with me, Susan Price. She was going to try to be here tonight. Her son was a Marine, fell in Afghanistan. We have huge, huge investments in what's going on, and we've earned that right, my friends. You know, you look around at the world today, and I have to tell you what, they simply want to rob our future generations from everything that we work for. And we get so distracted sometimes in political races or in some of this Mueller garbage that I'll be glad when he just packs his bag and goes home. And I'll tell you something, now this isn't in my speech notes, but you know what? They are getting smarter, because now, you know, the articles have been written to Pete Rosenstein. How can he stand there and let Peter Stroy send those text messages and not be just fired him in 5 seconds? Well, anyway, we're going to give our president a few more days, and I'll tell you what, I'm glad Kelly's staying, and I'm glad we got Mad Dog Mattis there, because I'm going to tell you what, he surrounded himself from some guys that don't play, and they ain't scared, and they're going to clean this up, but we've got to make sure we support it. You know what, I want to ask, well, all the military veterans in here, please stand for us. We need to recognize you. Oh, really? Get up, Jack. Oh, wow, thank you. Tell you what, this is America's team. Now we see all the left, and they bust them in, and they have their hate shirts and hate slogans and all this and that. But we have our team of all-stars, and you just saw some of the members of that team. And let me tell you what separates America's all-stars from all this left liberal garbage. Real American heroes wear uniforms that proudly bear the American flag, and they stand at attention and they salute at the playing of our national anthem, my friends. You know, we should never forget that we were established as a nation under God. And I'm really bad about talking about our endorsements, but one I'll mention here is I was endorsed by All Pro Pastors, if any of you are familiar with them. All Pro Pastors International. Every time I go speak, I talk about this. I want my grandkids to grow up knowing about Judeo-Christian values. I want them to understand that this nation's what it means to have freedom of religion. I want to make sure they don't have to face this ugly reality that they're trying to take the word God out of America, take it off our shrines. Some even want to take it out of the Pledge of Allegiance. And when we take a look at the history, you're aware of that, right? Okay? We have to take a look at the official history, because that's not going to be easy. First of all, I can see it in this room. This group is not going to stand for this silliness for 5 minutes. But in 1864, the U.S. government starts stamping the words "In God We Trust" on our currency. In 1954, the words "Under God" were added to that Pledge of Allegiance by an act of Congress. In 1956, during the Cold War, America wanted to clearly alienate itself from the communism, the socialism of the Soviet Union. So the 84th U.S. Congress, in a joint resolution, declared "In God We Trust" to be the official model of the United States, and President Dwight Eisenhower signed it into law, and it's still in the statutes today. And you know, we all talk about, I'll mention one real American hero along these lines, General George Patton. At a critical time in World War II, when he was you know, let me tell you what, if someone like that can do what he did, critical time in World War II, and he was wanting to start the invasion into Germany to start bringing the war to a close. But when you study the air-land battle doctrine, you learn you never put your ground forces out at risk on enemy soil if you can't protect the skies over them, because they're a great threat. So he called his chaplain in, and he said, "Let's see if we can't get God working with us in this thing. I need a weather prayer." And the chaplain said something along the lines, "Well, I don't know how this is going to go over, asking for good weather, fight our fellow man." General Patton said, "Well, trust me, with my great relationship with the Almighty, you write a good prayer, we'll have good weather." And it famously became known as the weather prayer. And they printed it out and handed it to the troops, and he read it unto the Lord. And I'll cite it. It's only 3 sentences. "Almighty and most merciful Father, we humbly beseech thee of thy great goodness to restrain these immoderate rains with which we have to contend. Grant us fair weather for battle. Graciously hearken to us as soldiers who call upon thy power, that we may advance from victory to victory and crush the wickedness and opposition of our enemies and establish thy justice among men and nations." And let me tell you, my friends, there is a part of this New World Order attack is to not just take away our borders and to take away our guns, but it's to take away our First Amendment rights and freedom of religion. You know, we had a government for years that was more intent on attacking we the people than protecting America and keeping it strong, that was progressively crossing the line and infringing on our inalienable rights, overreaching its constitutional authority, trying to force a socialistic agenda on this republics like Obamacare. And in November 2016, as a nation, we stood up and we said enough is enough. Now we have a lot of work left to do. My friends, you have fought back. And I see it. I can see it. I can feel it in this room that this year you're going to be fully engaged. You know, we must continue to protect the religious freedom and the Judeo-Christian values that are at the very core of this nation, and put people in office who take that serious and aren't afraid to say so. And I haven't been deafened by candidates talking about freedom of religious and Judeo-Christian values, by the way, my friends. You know, and we always hear the left like to talk about separation of church and state, and of course the First Amendment. And as we all know, those words aren't in there. And you know what? It should never be forgotten that the intention of the First Amendment wasn't to keep the churches out of politics, it was to keep the government out of our churches. And this is not one nation under Allah, and it's not one nation under Buddha. My friends, this is one nation under God. So we take a look at going forward, and what do we need to do as a people and a state and a nation? Now I know I have my competitors talking about, you know, and again, I'm the only veteran in the race, but they, well, why am I talking this or that? I'm pretty convinced we are going to win this as a team, as a community, as a county, as a state, and as a nation, or we're all going to lose. It's going to be one for all and one for all for one. So, you know, we need a good immigration policy. Yes, we're a nation of law and order, and we welcome immigrants, but we welcome legal immigrants. And when we take a look at this, we've got to stop rewarding people for being here illegally. We have many people in office just wanting illegal immigration, open borders, so they can get the votes and stay in office. You know, we don't need people coming to America to change us. If you want to come to America, you need to come to be a contributor and a team player, and you need to join us, and you need to assimilate. You know, we need to have a review process for judges who don't uphold the Constitution, and we should remove mayors from office that are restricting law enforcement from protecting law-abiding American citizens from the criminal activities of hate groups. We can't allow Sharia law courts or banks in our country, and we should always support Israel and require a certified birth certificate to get a voter registration card and not just a driver's license. And you know, here in Florida we have 3 teams. Maybe what we ought to do is eliminate all the tax advantages for the NFL so they can learn to stand and respect our flag and our national anthem. So my friends, here we go from here. This is my 5-minute point, Jack, so that you don't get stressed. Okay? The take-home message I have this year is it's time now, without delay and without excuse and without compromise and without condemnation, for American citizens to come first in America. It's our country, and we must protect it. You know, when you go vote, I'm going to ask you to do this again. Take a hard look at the candidate, listen to them, but remember, you're seeing a rehearsed movie. Trust me, okay? And the higher the office, the more rehearsed it is. And then do just like in the workplace. Go back and look at the resume. Yeah, I really liked what you said about this, but we're hiring a neurosurgeon and you majored in basket weaving. Okay? Take a look at the resume. Have they spent their time and money and life getting an education and training and experience and expertise for this job to serve you, or do they want you to vote for them so they can further their political career? Is that a fair question to ask you? Yeah. Look at the resumes. After you like what you hear, you know, my friends, we take a look, and we will always have to continue this fight to take our country back. And those of us that wore that uniform, and maybe some of others took that oath, protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we must replace our judges and anyone else who's not doing what's right for America. We need to get rid of Common Core, and that's a 10th Amendment issue, and bring education back to our states. Stop Agenda 21 in its tracks. Take a hard look at who you're voting for county commission, because I'm going to tell you what, that's where a lot of the encroachment and the infringement and the invasion is taking place. You know, we're tired of people not respecting our flags and our laws and our guns. We need to get rid of NAFTA. We need to amend the treaties, and the president's working hard on that have taken advantage of hard-working Americans and American entrepreneurs and businesses. And they have robbed us. My son does patents. They have taken our technology. I talked about this 6 years ago when I was running. Look at China now, the second largest economy, the largest manufacturer of goods on the planet, and the largest exporter of goods. And they have robbed our technology because there's no stringent international patent laws. They take that investment, proprietary, and they go back and they build their infrastructure and their technology, and now their military. They're building carrier battle groups. They're building, trying to keep up with us with, we have the F-22 Raptor. I was up there the other day, looked at them. What a platform, world's first supersonic stealth. But I guarantee you, China somehow is trying to steal the blueprints for that. And we can't allow this to happen. We've got to protect our country. We've got to protect our investment. We've got to protect our citizens. You know, when we hear all this negative talk about America, let's bring this home. Just remember, everyone in this room has a phenomenal heritage. And you share a birthright like no other, a right and a possession and a privilege that's coveted by so many all around the world. And the next time you fear that doubt or that uncertainty creeping in, remember this: you're not in this fight alone. Look around you here tonight. You're surrounded by a heritage that will never surrender. You're part of a breed that will never taste defeat. You know, we're a community of patriots, aligned and connected together by common bonds and shared values, and we need never stand in alone. We are not going to let them divide and conquer us, my friends. We are gaining energy, we're gaining in numbers, we're gaining confidence, and this blue wave is about to get steamrolled and crushed right here in 2018. I can feel it coming. You know, let us stand together. Proud, brave, strong, and free, as our heritage demands. A people united, as I said, by common purpose and commitments. And let us proclaim our divine destiny as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And my friends, as I close, again, we're on the right track, and we're doing it together. And we're going to continue to gain momentum. You know, for those who don't believe that freedom has to be protected, I refer to former President Ronald Reagan. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It wasn't passed to our children in the bloodstream. It has to be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. My friends, thanks to people like you and groups like this and states like Florida, this is still the land of the free and the home of the brave. And when we look at that flag, those proud stars and stripes have never run scared from anyone or anything. And when I look at the faces in this room, and I look at the confidence, I know they're not going to run scared now. Not on our watch. We will keep this great nation strong, safe, proud, prosperous, and free, and stop all those who want to take it away from its rightful owners, our future generations. And we're going to do it together. We are doing it together. You and you and you and you and me are going to continue to rise up, and we are going to be seen, and we are going to be heard, and we are going to be felt. And the New World Order might as well just pack their crap and get out of town, my friends. We are still the shining city on the hill, and our best days are still ahead. My friends, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and I want to thank you for letting me be here tonight. And may God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless these United States of America. Thank you. What is the question? Again, tell me.
The United Nations is trying to steal from the
I tell you
rest
what,
of us, our carbon footprint, and we're already ahead of everybody else.
yeah, and I say thank you because let me tell you what, I am a believer that if we can't amend the treaties and we can't stop this, we just need to get it. They just need to get out. We need to get out of the UN. We just need to get out. Yes, sir.
You support the Trump shutting down the government to get what he wants for the border?
Well, I mean, tell you what, I might be for shutting down the government anyway. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that you know, it's a cat and mouse game a little bit, but I think that sometimes you have to play hardball, and you know, I think that if a country without a border isn't going to be a country for long, and anyone that just, I some days just wonder what are they smoking or what are they drinking? You know, you look at a border. Why do you have a border? So you can know who and what are coming in and going out. And anyone that just thinks that that illegal weapons, illegal guns, illegal drugs, illegal money laundering is not going to go right through a porous border into the #1 economy in the world, you just don't get it. And so we need to protect our borders. And when you look at what he's doing, what we've tried to do in the past hasn't worked. So, you know, we obviously need to have a new strategy that employs better tactics in order to get the outcomes that we're looking for. You know, one of the things I taught in grad school in strategic thinking and operations management was how to set goals. And as simple as that sounds, but you know, most often it's not done very well. I won't say people, organizations set goals, and then they go out and they achieve their goals, and then they wonder why they don't get the desired results. What we taught in strategic thinking is the way you do that, and it applies to the wall, is what's my current situation? That's your current state, present state. What is it that I'm trying to achieve, that I want to be? That's your vision, your future state. And you measure that difference with a gap analysis. That identifies what you need to achieve to get from where you are to where you want to be. And I think as a nation, our federal government has often set goals to get votes because it sounds great, and maybe we spend money and throw at it, and we achieve goals, but we don't get where we want to go. So if we want people to quit coming through the borders, then we've got to identify tactics that are going to achieve that objective. And if you can't measure what it is, and you can't see, and you can't stop, and you can't filter it, it's not going to get any better. So I think we got to have the wall. One of the things I usually say, and tonight I took it out a little bit, but when you look at this last election, you know, you hit into the media always talking about how Hillary really won. You know, she won by 3 million votes. But what they don't talk about is where it was. And it was California. She won California by 4 million. Donald Trump won the other 49 states by 1 million. And here's a state that gives, you know, everything to illegal immigrants, including driver's license. So a part of my speech was, if California wants to be a sanctuary state, Mr. President, please review the blueprint for exactly where we're going to build the wall. And so, yes, I support the wall. Yes, sir.
I went through World War II.
Wow, you're looking awful good.
I wasn't a vet though.
Oh, okay.
But I remember my wagon collecting pots and pans, and we had war bonds.
Yep.
Why can't we sell war bonds for the wall?
I don't know. And again, this particular office isn't too involved in that. You know, a war bond's basically a loan. I think I'd rather see us sell war bonds to American citizens than continue selling T-bills to the Chinese. You know, if we're going to raise money, let's at least keep it in family, keep it in house. You know, but I'm going to tell you what. I think the guy's an entrepreneur and he's a strategic thinker, and he may just figure out a way to make a profit on the wall. Okay, I think those little wheels are always running in there. You know, and some of you may know it. So for a year or better, I was the national spokesman for Citizens for Trump. Now, that's an independent organization that supports the America First agenda, and we endorse candidates around the nation that support America First agenda. And the wall question would come up quite a bit. But I think that he will figure out a way that, how can you accurately measure the cost of not having the wall? You know, what's the cost of not having the wall, and what's the cost of drugs? What's the cost of money laundering? What's the cost of illegal gun laundering and coming across there? What's the cost of not having taxes? We need E-Verify. I really believe that. We need E-Verify, and I think that you've got to have a lock on the door. And all the people that don't want a border are living behind a 10-foot wall with security guards. Okay? So if they don't want to have a wall, let's just open that gate and let them come live in your living room. Okay? But don't tell the American people that have worked hard and have made sacrifices, that are trying to feed their family and put their kids through school, that they've got to pay the way for people here illegally. Now, I know a lot of the left doesn't like that. I hope that they can hear us. Because I got a feeling that in this room tonight, I'm not the only one that feels that way. I'm an E-Verify guy. I think if you're here, you need to be here legally. And yes, I understand that 3 of the industries that are some of the biggest offenders in illegal immigration are construction, agriculture, and hospitality. But you know what? The rest of us don't owe them cheap labor. Again, we have to educate the schools at taxpayer expense. They get sick or they go to the hospital, they don't have third-party reimbursement, so the hospital has to eat it, and what do? They pass the cost on to me and you. And I'm just against that.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
You said you're opposed to illegal immigration. What, if you're Commissioner of Agriculture, what's the impact, of illegal immigration on agriculture today, and what happens if you take all those people out?
Well, first of all, I'm against it. Okay, and you know, let me be clear. If I didn't come across clear, I am against illegal immigration. Okay, now we see. You know what? I taught research methods in grad school. In this room, we can design a study to show anything we want, depending on who we ask. Okay, just like the polls. Well, who's winning? Well, who'd you ask? Okay, they call it a cohort. What's the cohort? What's the demographic that you polled? So when we see these studies, who did them? And who's gaining from them? So, yes, might the cost of an orange go up? It might a little. Okay? But also we'll have more American jobs, and we have visas for seasonal work. What you look at is the biggest winners in illegal immigration are the employers of the illegal immigrants, and the biggest losers are the American public, because they don't always filter in. Like I'm saying, what's it cost to put 5 kids through public schools? What's it cost for the family to go to the ER for primary care, which is the most expensive way to treat primary care, is a hospital emergency room. So where I'm standing, if you're in this country, you need to be here legally. And the system needs to support, it's a free market. So we have to pay a little more for agriculture, then we have to pay a little more. But I'm convinced it's going to be an overall cost savings to the American consumer and worker. I just believe that. Yes?
I'm trying to figure out the relationship of all that you said tonight in relationship to the job you're seeking.
Right. Which piece? I said a lot. Because this job, number 1 is agriculture, but it's also consumer services, and it's cabinet position. And I think pretty much everything that I talked about tonight comes under one of those. Okay? Illegal immigration, absolutely.
Okay. Just one other thing.
Yes.
When you get your job, I think that the state of Florida should be mapped out to protect agriculture and to protect a certain amount of growth wherever the major cities are.
Let me tell you what I personally went through. Okay, not seeking sympathy, but just along those very lines. Okay, I live in the county. I'm in Hillsborough. I'm out in the county. I live next to a strawberry field on one side and a cattle pasture behind me. And the little street that I live on used to be strictly agricultural. Developer came in, got land use changed to agricultural, residential agricultural. I put in my tree farm. I have about 500 Phoenix variety palm trees. I put them in. So I go down to the county and I want to convert that part of the property back to agricultural. Oh no, they don't want to do it. Why not? Because the county wants more taxes. Next thing, so I go in and they deny it. They said it's not a tree farm. Yeah, here's 500 Phoenix palm trees on 14-foot centers with irrigation to every tree. Next thing I know, the Florida Forestry Service starts coming out and inspecting my tree farm. So I took the inspection report down to the county property appraiser's office and I said, would you please call and tell them that you said this isn't a tree farm and for them to quit inspecting it? That's what I had to do. Okay, they granted it. Now, the Commissioner of Agriculture doesn't do property use. But I would say this, your county commissioners have a big role in that. And we take a look at who are the winners. Guys, it's always money. Who are the winners when somebody donates to a campaign? Do you think, and I know that I'm not going to pick on, but let's say some industry, let's say Mosaic. I said I wouldn't, but I did. Let's say they donate $10,000 to a campaign. Do you think they want anything back? I use Mosaic because they're very close to where I live. They're very close to where I don't live close to Sugar, but I live very close to Mosaic. Okay? Now, I'm not saying Mosaic's bad, but do you think that any organization gives campaign contributions in the tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars and not want something back? So I know for me, I'm always going to look at who donated to your campaign and what do they want back. And how is that going to align with what they're going to do? I am proud again to say I've taken no corporate donations from anyone. So, you know, when we look at many things, I think we always come back to tracing the money. And when you come to the county commissions and the county property appraisers' offices, what do they really want from you? They want more property tax, don't they? Is there anybody in here that thinks that the county government doesn't want property tax money from you? Is there anyone that thinks that? Okay, so, and how many people in here have farmland, agricultural land of any kind? Who all, anybody?
Over here.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think agricultural land is assessed for taxes at $2,000 an acre. Does that sound right? Okay, about $2,000 an acre, so that's what you pay the tax burden on. But if they can come in and change it to residential or commercial, then now it might be taxed at $50,000 or $200,000 an acre, and that's where they get their money from. So there's always a motivation on the side of the property land use people to change it from agricultural, because to them it's the least profitable because they're trying to collect tax revenue. So again, sir, it's a great question. We've got to look at what's the motivation.
And what brought that on was the fact that there's a rebar manufacturing plant that's going in just north of Avon Park. And I was thinking, well, how many more industries of large size and of steel?
Let me tell you what, our population is supposed to what? In the next, I don't remember how many years it was, going to go from 20 to 30 million. And you take a look at developers, and I'm not trying to beat up anybody that's in construction or developers, but what land is available? It's agricultural land. That's the REC chairman of Citrus County. He's desperate tonight. Okay. All right. Y'all know where Citrus County is, right? Yeah, they're good people. Nature's Coast up there. Sir, I think what we have to have is a balance there. But again, you know, guys, do you all have the county commissioners come through? Jesus. I thought I had this turned off. I guess I'm going to have to use the Hillary method and get a hammer. But you know, I would ask the county commissioners too, because that's our front line there. And you all talk to the property appraisers down here, the tax collector. Ask them. You know, what is driving this of continuing to move agricultural lands into other uses? Because you make a great point. We've got to grow. I mean, I know for me what it took to move it back to where it was. It was strawberry field, then it got changed to residential agriculture, and for me to move it back, it's a green belt. It's a green belt classification. I'd fight really hard. So because they want the extra revenues to be able to tax the ground, the real estate, at a higher tax rate. And residential or commercial is much, much more lucrative for the tax collectors for your county than agricultural property. So they're all for it. I mean, they would love to turn a strawberry field into a residential gated golf course community, for example. And that's part of the drivers there. But yes, I totally agree. We've got to protect our agricultural lands. And like I said, I'm not just standing up here talking about it. I did it. I fought the fight. I know what it's like. And that's the stand I think we got to continue to make. Yes, sir.
I bought a property for 5 acres. I raise alpacas, so I've got green belting.
Right.
but the tax assessor came back past this one farm that I bought, and I had some alpacas there, and I went down to get it changed back to green belting. He says, "I wonder where you've been for a year and a half because I thought you'd be here."
Yeah, yeah.
So our tax assessor is not against it.
Yeah, yeah. And if the Air Force didn't own all the beachfront properties in Florida, we'd have a lot more we could do out there. I mean,
Talk to the government.
they always have prime places, right? Tisdale, Eglin. Of course, the Navy's done pretty good in Florida too. Yes, and again, guys, I'd be happy to talk to you about anything you want. I just didn't want to stand up here and talk about agriculture for 30 minutes, although we could talk about it for 30 days. Believe me, we got to give home field advantage to Florida growers. We've got to do better with our best practices on how we apply our fertilizers, how we apply our chemicals. We've got to do a better job in discharges that are going into our water supplies. But again, you know, I'm going to ask you to put someone in office that doesn't owe any favors to anyone that might be on the wrong side of the fence on that. Is that fair?
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the #1 crop in Highlands County? And we take a look, and that one I actually knew that. I mean, when we look at the bacteria with citrus greening, we've lost, what, 70% as a state about? I mean, again, and you know how it got here? It was imported. Okay? So when I talk about home field advantage, I'm talking about better barriers to imports too. It's Texas palm disease. It got imported. So the disease, the plant comes through our ports, mostly, and has a disease on it. Next thing you know, it spreads. Now they're talking about with the citrus having the citrus resistance varieties, which is better than what we have, but we need to eradicate the disease because even with the resistant varieties, they still can be carriers. What we need is a way to apply an antibacterial, based an antibiotic, for lack of a better term, that the tree can absorb. You know, I went out there with a Z-Pack and kept sticking it, but it just wouldn't swallow it. So, you know, what we need to be able to do is to spray them and have a way of, you know, have a chemical that when you spray, and we can use the surfactants to break down the surface tension on the leaves and everything where it will absorb in, and because the plant will move it through the plant, or apply it through the roots. You know, but we got to defeat both of these, citrus greening and Texas palm disease. They're both bacteria, and we got to have an application methodology that allows us to get an antibacterial into the plant, kill the bacteria, and eradicate the disease. And they're working on it, but we just need like additional funding for IFAS, and I work with IFAS on my tree farm. You know, additional funding from USDA to IFAS for more grants. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Our county is in a bad way right now because when Irma came across,
Yep.
it cost us $12 million. And FEMA, of course, has not paid a penny yet. And every time they contact them, you know, of course, it's coming. Most of it is orange, is the orange groves.
Right.
But they're saying that even though we had to put out $12 million, we probably won't get but $9 million, and it could be 6 years.
If we get it.
If we get it.
If we get it up.
And the county right now is having a bad time with their budget because they've used up their reserves.
Well, and that's where I think as a state, and again, this job, besides being the ag, is on the cabinet, where the governor, the attorney general, the chief financial officer, and the ag guy, you know, can collaborate effectively, okay, with our U.S. Congress and our U.S. Senate to get those federal funds here. I mean, I think that we need to attack that from all avenues, because they can blow off just one or two pieces, but if we have 27 U.S. Congress, which we do, whether they're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, this is their state. They're representing the interest of the people, the constituents in that district. The 2 U.S. senators are statewide, and of course the cabinet is statewide. And you know, we can have channels of the Commissioner of Agriculture to the USDA. Now, I heard one of my competitors talking about she's going to go up there every week, and I really doubt the Secretary of Agriculture is going to meet with our guy every week. But we do need better collaboration there, and to get things like that resolved. And I think we can. I think we can. I think that if we don't, I mean, I know from my palm, I got really lucky. I'm in Hillsboro. I sat there and sweated it out because my trees have the big canopies, they're top heavy, they're thick, they catch a lot of air, and you know, I was just, you know, and I mean seriously worried about it. And you know, we have crop insurance, but that's another thing I'd like to take a look at is the crop insurance. You know, I mean, I can do the buy-ups, and but pretty much you got to have a catastrophic loss. If you don't have a catastrophic loss, the crop insurances don't do a lot of good. Like I can lose 5 palm trees, and those Sylvesters and Canaries, I mean, at the height of the market, those things were $200 a foot of wood. You know, these are high-dollar trees, but if you lose 5 out of 500, you can't file a claim on that, or you know. So we need to take a look and review that, get some good inputs from the players and from the stakeholders. And these are the things I've been trained to do and what I'd like to do up there.
And it really needs to be done because we're not the only county that's really.
Oh, no, I mean, it's our state.
The state needs to get together and do something.
And again, you know, we have a state interest here because look at our ecotourism trade. Okay, people come to Florida to buy our oranges. They want to check in a nice hotel on vacation with palm trees because they don't have them in Michigan. I mean, they don't have them in Maine. They don't even have them in North Carolina. You can barely grow them in Tallahassee, seriously, because of the weather differential. So we've got to protect those core industries and jobs as well. So we all have a stake in this, and this is why we need better collaboration. You know, one of the terms we always used in the military was interoperability. You know, in the civilian world, they talk about integration. We've got to throw all of it in there and integrate it together. In the military, they learned. Just throwing it in there together might integrate it, but it doesn't make it work together. So we need not just integration, but interoperability, where all the pieces are present. They all perform the specific mission that's required for them, for the whole organization to achieve what it needs to do. We need better interoperability from all of our elected offices in Florida to protect our collective good. And I think that FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management, not writing the checks that we should have done some affecting, you know, I don't care if you're a U.S. congressman from this district or at the center of the governor. That's where we need to have better collaboration and interoperability from all of our elected officials to protect our, and our, like I said, our whole campaign slogan is protecting Florida families' freedoms, food, water, and animals. And you know, the hurricanes are hard on the animals too. This office has oversight for animal welfare at large, even works with veterinarians, and I'm an animal softie. And it's not the, and I had animal husbandry at college, and I know our ranchers and cattlemen are not mistreating their animals. It's these illegal slaughterhouses. I went over here a few weeks ago to Fort Myers because there's an illegal slaughterhouse operating over there, and people hear the animals screaming, and they're butchering the animals and selling them on a market, and it's ugly. It's ugly. That's got to stop. That kind of stuff has got to stop. I mean, guys, this isn't a political career for me. I'm 66 years old, but I'm not going to go there for 20 years. But I want to fix some things, and I don't know anybody, and I can go in there and do it, and I don't care how mad they get. Yes, sir.
I held a license for lawn and ornamental pest control.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't renew. I'm supposed to renew every year. There's a lot of licenses and testing, you know, in your department. And so now they say, oh, I got to retake the exam again. And
Did you have to retake it, do you think?
I don't think.
Did you
it's right.
forget how to do
It's
it?
like you got your master's degree. How would you like it if, you know, somebody took your master's degree
Yeah,
from you?
yeah. Well, that'd be something I'll take a look at.
That'd be
You know? Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
You know,
Maybe what they need is a grace period. You know, maybe they need a grace period.
Well, that or
I mean, there may ought to be.
or whatever, pay
Yeah.
a fine, whatever, but then you
Yeah.
have to go back and take that exhaustive exam again.
Yeah.
And pass it, it just seems to be a bit much.
Well, I'm sure what the objective was there, they didn't want someone to forget what they're doing, come back 10 years later. So maybe there should be a grace period there.
Is there one Talcott palm that is more resistant than the others? I got a royal palm, I lost it. I
Well,
got cherry
I mean,
palms and they're doing fine.
I tell you, and again, I mean, I'm partial because I have Phoenix. The Phoenix varieties are very susceptible to it. The royal palms, from what I've seen, and I don't grow those, are less susceptible to it. But I've had Washingtonians that were just out in my yard. I don't grow Washingtonians. They're not really a high-dollar tree, but they are susceptible to it as well. So, you know, we've got to have a way to eradicate the disease. And, I mean, we have to take the trees down and dispose of them, but the insects can move it from plant to plant. They even think possibly between the roots of the plants. We got to eradicate the disease. And we can, and we can. We can. It's just, we just need a way to apply it. Apply the antibacterial to where the plant can take it in, either through the roots or through the canopies. Well, folks, I thank you for letting me be here. Hopefully I've answered your questions. And, you know, I would appreciate your vote on August 28th. And I promise you that I will serve you, like all the rest of them say. But I can serve you without being derailed or distracted or pulled by the people that I took their money. Okay? I can serve you without compromise. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mike.